Welcome, my friend. Hello. I am the proprietor, Dr. John. If you have any questions, I would be happy to assist.
Great. My name is Knight, and I'll probably take you up on that.
A street drummer has settled outside the museum. The voodoo shrine is filled with items that both fascinate Gabriel and also make his skin crawl.
It wouldn't be much of a voodoo museum without a voodoo doll. This coffin is so small. Wonder who that poor bastard was. Magenta Moonbeam. Voodoo Inn. Will that look sacrilegious?
A street drummer has settled outside the museum. That must be Marie Laveau. An official voodoo wishing stump. Rub it and make a wish, a card says.
Funny, I say the same thing to women. I wish Molly Aghetti were mine forever. Really, I mean it.
What was that?
Oh, nothing.
Dr. John is a huge man. If his manner weren't so pleasant, he'd be intimidating. Given the man's size, that doesn't seem advisable.
Could I ask you a few questions?
That is why I am here.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Historical voodoo, or the voodoo currently practiced in the city.
Tell me about historical voodoo.
Very well. I will start at the beginning, Mr. Knight, and will go on from there at your prompting.
Sounds good.
As you may know, voodoo is a grassroots religion, formed by the mixing together of many different African tribal religions and Anglo religions, such as Catholicism or Protestantism. In other words, it is a religion born of the African slave trade. But African slaves were imported not only by the United States, but also into the West Indies, with the French and Spanish-ran plantation islands. Prior to 1803, the New Orleans area was owned by France. The French Creole in those days owned many African slaves. But the Creole did not permit their slaves to gather, giving no chance for voodoo to breed here natively. The Creole also knew enough about the corrupted pagan practices of the West Indies slaves to ban the importings of slaves from that region.
So how did voodoo come to New Orleans?
After the Louisiana Purchase, American legislators relaxed regulations. Slaves were permitted to gather. The Americans also removed the ban on West Indies slaves. Around the same time, a slave revolt occurred in Santo Domingo, what is now Haiti. Between the lifting of the ban and the Haitian Revolt, West Indies slaves began pouring into New Orleans. Some of them were free people of color, freed or escaped slaves. Some came with their white owners who were fleeing from the revolt.
And what happened when the West Indies slaves got here?
They brought voodoo with them. The native slaves were more than enthusiastic about embracing it. It gave them power, Mr. Knight. If only in the form of a communal band. Among the first meeting places were the Bayou St. John, and the Shore of Link Pontchartrain, the early voodoos were heavy snake worshippers, worshipping the one they called the Great Zombie.
Tell me more about historical voodoo.
By 1817, the voodoo activities were beginning to cause fear among the white slave owners. An ordinance was passed to forbid slave gatherings except in designated public areas at designated times. The time was Sunday afternoons, and the place, Congo Square. The slaves and free people of color gathered to dance simulations of their voodoo dances, right in sight of Creole society. Of course, they also continued to meet in private for the real thing.
Tell me more about it.
There were a variety of kings and queens at first, voodoo priests and priestesses. But from about 1830, this was a voodoo queen named Marie Laveau. Marie Laveau ruled voodoo in New Orleans for many years.
Tell me about current voodoo.
Many people think of voodoo in terms of magic spells or gree-gree. That kind of practice is actually called hoodoo and is only a part of true voodoo. Voodoo, the religion, has a strong following in New Orleans. In fact, it is growing quite rapidly. There are several voodoo churches or temples in the city, and others all across the United States. African Americans see it as a tradition all their own. Whites, and there are many in the religion, are attracted to it because they think it is exotic. I personally am more interested in the history of voodoo. Some of the new movements are copying Haitian or even African voodoo. But it is the voodoo of New Orleans that I find so intriguing.
Tell me about Marie Laveau.
There were actually two Marie Laveaus, mother and daughter. Most people thought they were the same woman. Her continued youth added to the mystique. The original, the mother, was also known as Widow Paris. It was she that began the empire.
Tell me more about Marie Laveau.
The Laveau tomb, where one or both of the Maries are believed to be buried, is in St. Louis Cemetery No. 1. It is a popular shrine for practitioners and tourists alike. I myself take tours through the cemetery on a regular basis.
Really? Do you have any running this week?
No, but the cemetery is open to the general public as well.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Ah, you have perhaps noticed the museum snake, Mr. Knight? They are beautiful creatures. Do you not agree? And the tourists seem to associate them with voodoo.
What exactly is hoodoo?
Hoodoo refers to magic folk traditions of the South. Hoodoo is a bastard of voodoo. Many of the gree-gree are similar, but hoodoo does not have the religious aspects of voodoo.
What do you think of New Orleans?
It is the only city in the United States, as far as I am concerned.
What do you know about the voodoo murders?
The killings in the newspaper. I know they have nothing to do with true voodoo in New Orleans.
Tell me about yourself.
Me?
Yes, if you don't mind.
What is it you wish to learn?
Why did you open a voodoo museum?
The subject has fascinated me all my life, and I wanted to help preserve the cultural heritage it represents.
What kind of background in voodoo do you have?
Let us just say I cut my teeth on it, Mr. Knight. It is in my blood.
Do you do anything besides run the museum?
No, the museum does not make me a rich man, but my material needs are simple. I prefer to focus on my one true interest in life.
What are your own religious beliefs?
My beliefs are too personal and too complex to discuss with a layman, Mr. Knight.
Just tell me anything.
I am originally from the West Indies myself, you know.
Really? What brought you to New Orleans?
I was drawn here for personal reasons.
Just tell me.
I am
Really?
a vegetarian.
I can't imagine living without meat.
That must be the hunter in you, Mr. Knight.
Just tell me anything.
I am not an easy person to get to know. I am a very private man.
Isn't that unusual for someone in the museum business?
Not at all. My displays speak for me.
Actually, I can't think of a thing.
Then let us discuss something else.
A very large, very formidable-looking snake is secured in a plexiglass cage.
Thanks a lot. Bye now.
Come back again.
Odd-looking marks adorn the Laveau tomb wall. This is the tomb of Marie Laveau, Voodoo Queen of Narlands.
Hello there. Got a sec?
Go ahead. These folks ain't in no hurry.
Do you know anything about Marie Laveau?
Sure. She was the Voodoo Queen of Narlands, a powerful voodoo yin and a powerful sorceress. Believers still come to her tomb, you know. They write secret marks on the walls, leave offerings. Then there's the tourists. They come out of curiosity. As a matter of fact, that big Dr. John fella from that voodoo museum, he's here at least once a day. But Marie Laveau's tomb isn't the only one the believers visit and make markings and leave offerings at.
You said there were other mock tombs?
Yep. I've seen bull hearts left on tombs and a nest of vulture feathers, plates of peas and corn green, animal parts, human parts even, it look like. Male parts, if you get my meaning. And this is one of the great family crypts, mind you. Odd how them types just pick a spot and stick to it.
Tell me something about St. Louis Cemetery, number 1.
You know why the dead are buried in tombs and not in the ground, don't you? The water table's too high. Them coffins will float right out of their graves. Ha! Them dead will go floating right down into the Coda. Of course, if it were Mardi Gras, nobody'd even notice. It's a historical place. People buried in here from the Civil War. Back further, too. Take a look around. You'll see.
What can you tell me about voodoo?
They say it was part of an old religion from Africa, brought here by slaves.
Near the Laveau tomb is a piece of red brick, undoubtedly a cast-off from spiritual graffiti writers. The wall doesn't work that way.
Hello?
Huh?
Bonjour, Monsieur Walker.
Bienvenue, Madame Casanova. Comment ça va?
How you be feeling today?
Well, I'll tell you, Mr. Walker. I'm certain someone's buried a sleep knot bag somewhere near my steps. I haven't slept a wink, not in weeks.
Now don't that beat off. I'll need some easy night candles then, huh?
Do you think that would help? I do hope you're right. I said 3 rosaries this morning for Our Lady's intervention.
Rosary good, sure enough, but you burn them candles too, boy, you gonna whip any no-sleep gree-gree, I tell you for sure.
Very well, Mr. Walker. Put them on my account and send them around to my house. Oh, and there's another thing. I didn't catch her at it, but I know. Mrs. Lefebvre put stomachache powder in my tea at the last meeting of the Creole Grand Dame. I've been in misery.
Now you put 9 pinheads up in the little box. Add a pinch of graveyard dust. Put it up under her front post step. That'll turn the trick back on Miss Lefebvre, and she be the one with the bellyache. I got the pins of dust right here if you want them.
If the Blessed Virgin will grant me her protection, I'll be safe from these practitioners of evil.
Oui, madame. Though, don't hurt to be proactive neither now, does it?
Naturellement, monsieur. Merci beaucoup.
Mais non, madame. It's nothing. Au revoir.
Au revoir, Monsieur Walker.
The mask appears to be made from a real crocodile head. It's a mannequin wearing a crocodile mask. The shelf holds containers of dried items, flowers, grasses, and black cat bones. The poster advertises a voodoo play from last fall. The sign says, Special St. John's Eve Lagnia, free bottle of Lover Come Back to Me oil, or Master Gambling oil with every purchase over $50.
Lagnia. My French is lousy, but everyone in New Orleans knows what that means. A little something extra.
The proprietor doesn't look especially friendly. His business probably doesn't depend on walk-ins.
Hi there. Is this your store?
This the Dixieland drugstore. And I own it. Me. Name's Walker. Willie Walker.
Do you know anything about animal masks?
The only one left is Willie Jr. over there. The old crocodile. He's sort of a mascot now, him.
That customer of yours, the little old lady.
Customer?
The woman I saw in here, Madame Casino, you called her.
I don't talk about my customers to men who come in off the street.
About Willie Jr., would you be willing to let him go?
Maybe. For $100.
100? You gotta be kidding.
Me and Willie Jr. are very close now. I couldn't part with him for less.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
It's the biggest night of the year in voodoo.
What goes on exactly?
I couldn't say.
What do you know about the voodoo murders?
Caprice encore.
What did you say?
Nothing. Them killings have nothing to do with my shop, monsieur.
What did you mean when you said Caprice encore?
I didn't say that.
You did. I heard you say it.
You heard wrong, monsieur. I said no such thing.
What do you know about Marie Laveau?
Marie? She's somebody from the old days. One of them old folk tales. The tourists eat it up, no?
Do you know anything about snakes?
What kind of snakes?
The kind they use in voodoo?
pythons, boas, so I've heard.
Really? Do you have one?
Are you crazy? What would I want with a python?
What do you think of Nolans?
I live here all my life, me.
What do you think of Nolans?
If you're not from around here, monsieur, you should sign up for some tours.
Can you tell me what you know about voodoo?
This is a novelty shop, monsieur.
Do you think I'm stupid? This is a voodoo shop. Look at all this stuff.
These is novelties, curiosities. If people want to think they magic, it's not my concern, you know?
Are you telling me that you own a voodoo shop, but you know nothing about voodoo practices?
Ça n'est pas affaire blanc.
What does that mean?
It means you should mind your own business, monsieur.
So, this is a voodoo store, huh?
Voodoo? No, man. This is a curio shop. The things you see here are from local folklore. None of it real, I tell you for sure.
What about all these magic oils and powders you're selling? Aren't they a part of voodoo?
Read the label, man. We make no claims. Sold as curio only. It mean what it say, no? These are novelties, not voodoo.
So, do you get many tourists in here?
We, all the time. They want to buy a bottle of money-drawn oil or wang a bag to take home with them.
How's business?
About like always.
I'm a businessman too. I own a bookstore here in the quarter.
I don't really care, me. I got a store to run.
Tell me about it.
My name's Willie Walker. I own the place.
How did you get into this kind of business?
Now, why should I discuss my business with you, man?
Hello, Dr. John.
Glad you could return to us, Mr. Knight.
Could I ask you some more questions?
Of course. I also find our dialogue stimulating.
Do you know what caprice and call means?
I fear my French is not all it should be, Mr. Knight.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
It is one of the important ceremonial nights in voodoo.
Do you know anything about animal masks?
I used to have some antique African totem masks, but they were on the point of disintegration, so I removed them.
So how's the museum business?
Those who truly seek to understand are few, Mr. Knight. But even one can be an audience.
Sounds about like my shop. So where do you pick up all this stuff?
Oh, here and there. We accept donations of any pertinent items.
Do you ever get any wackos in here?
You mean, besides yourself?
Yeah, besides me.
I do not care to make those kinds of judgments, Mr. Knight. All are welcome here.
Goodbye, Dr. John.
Goodbye, Mr. Knight.
Hello, beautiful. It's me.
The excitement of seeing you is killing me.
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
Could you do some research for me?
Sure, what?
I need you to look up a Madame Casino.
Madame Casino? Is she related to the murders the same way your friend Molly Aghetti was?
Grace, Casino's at least 70.
As if that makes a difference to you. Okay, I'll see what I can find. Anything else?
I can't think of anything. Do you have any idea what Capri Saint-Caux means?
No. Sounds French, though.
What can you tell me about St. John's Eve?
St. John's Eve? Never heard of it. Must be a local custom. New Orleanians love to party.
Do you know anything about animal masks?
I'd rather not hear about your sex life, Knight.
Do you know anything about snakes?
Doing a family tree, Gabriel?
Very funny. I mean real snakes, you know, scaly, cold-blooded. I would have thought you'd find them empathetic.
I know very little about reptiles of any kind and prefer to keep it that way. I think there's a book on snakes around here somewhere, though.
Okay, thanks. You know anything about Marie Laveau?
Wasn't she a big voodoo queen before the Civil War?
That's right.
Well, you've just heard everything I know about her.
Gabriel has a photocopy of the official police file containing the partial patterns from the voodoo murders. That doesn't work that way.
Hey, that's interesting. Snakes can sense their prey by vibration.
Did you know that medieval legends about dragons and giant worms are actually based on snakes? You know, dragons, devils, sea monsters. They've always been associated with snakes.
Grace, get alive.